Let's do this, people. Guys, thank you for joining in. It's that time of the week. I'm going to be inviting the guest on.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go. Oh yeah, so my guest will be coming in a minute. It's me, Hadi Nakri again. My regular Facebook Live side by side is happening again this week, and we've got a special guest involved. His name is Hussnam. Hussnam is a estate agent, and we are going to be talking about many factors. You most likely have been in anticipation about the actual... thank you, Hussnam. It's come on. Yes, as you and Hussnam Taufiq. So you guys know what's happened by the Chancellor. Thanks for joining in. I know you can't be the final location, but thank you for joining in. We're saying the grind never stops.
No problem. It's Hussnam, by the way. Hold on a minute. I can't hear you.
Thanks for the correction. You know, guys call me Heidi. You know, so I have to correct them. I'm not just going out. It happens. So, guys, anyone else who's joining in?
I couldn't hear you there,
This is going to be a great one today. So, most of this is going to be about what happened today in terms of estate agency, because stamp duty is going to have a massive impact on estate agency. There's already pent up frustration and people looking to go ahead and complete their purchases, although they couldn't because of coronavirus. And we're seeing the market take a massive rallying so that it can push forward and get more buyers back into the market again, and encourage more homeowners to sell their properties and complete on their chains. So I'm glad that you've come on board, and thank you for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, brother, introduce yourself and let us know who you are, what company you work for.
Yeah. So my name is Hussnam Taufiq. Yeah, my name is Hussnam Taufiq. I work with Benjamin Stephen Estate Agents, and I'm a self-employed agent, which is obviously the new buzz in the market. So I cover Croydon, basically South London area, basically as much stock as I can get on. That's letting, sales, you name it. I'm on it. I'm 24/7.
Okay, that's not a good thing to do because you've got to drive, and that means a lot of Red Bull. So please get some sleep.
Yes, a lot of coffee, 6 liters of water a day. I'm fully packed.
Yeah, again, I came from the estate agency background, so I know what you're talking about. I got my coffee right here.
Happy days.
I mean, just a side note, the highest number of cups of coffees I could have in a day was 9. I was trying to get to 10, but I couldn't.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Mine has been 5.
Okay, well,
mine has been 5, but I couldn't sleep. So I said, you know what? Let it go. Let it go for some time.
Yeah, but it's that buzz that you get within the estate agency environment. It's fast-paced, and even when the sale has been made, doesn't mean that everything's over and done with. You've still got to make sure it gets to exchange and completion.
Absolutely.
So,
everything needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, if you're watching this live or watching it on the replay, feel free. Drop in a question, drop in a comment, drop in anything that you want to do. If you're watching this on the replay and you got a question, drop it in. We will answer it. Me and Hussnam, we will answer that question for you. So have no fear. Okay. Right. So there has been a bit of buzz that's happened in the market. So we know what made you what made you actually become an estate agent? What made you change from your original role?
You know what? It was completely random. So I was 10 years basically in direct sales for a paintball company. Okay.
For what?
Very random. For a paintball company, yes.
Okay.
10 years. I did that for 10 years. It was really good. Monetary wise, happy days, very flexible. Happy with it, but obviously once coronavirus hit, things changed. It had to shut down because of social distancing and stuff.
Yeah.
And because I've been self-employed for such a long time, I'm used to working for myself or like working with a company. I can't do it night. I can't do 9 to 5. Okay. And I love sales. You know the thrill that you get.
Yeah.
Of making people happy and talking to people and getting that, all of that. I love it. I love that. So I started looking for work, and then I said, I want to sell something that, that needs to be on a bigger scale. And I bought my property last year in September, which was very stressful, but enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah.
So after going through all of that, I said, you know what? I've enjoyed that. I understand it a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of learning to be done. But I think I'll enjoy that. So I applied to a few estate agents, and but wasn't getting the right feedback. Obviously, remembering they only open up on the 1st of June. And I'm guessing literally everybody in the UK started applying to them at the same time. So I wasn't getting any good response from it. So I said, you know what, let me see if there's like self-employment positions. I've heard about it, but I never knew anything about it. So I did a bit of research. I came in contact with actually a good friend of mine. His name is Kishan Mita. I met him on LinkedIn. I sent him a little message. You know, we had a little chat, and I said, you know what, I'm on board. Let's do this. And haven't looked back now.
And you're specializing in sales more than lettings, is that correct?
Well, I specialize in sales in the sense of, when I say sales, it just translates to me, I can talk to people. It doesn't matter if it's a let or if it's selling a house. For me, as long as you can connect with you, as long as you can communicate with people, it's still the same thing. Sales is obviously slightly longer.
Sure.
But essentially, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from in the concept of sales,
Yeah.
but I mean in terms of the actual discipline of selling the houses versus letting them out. Your primary focus, even though you could do both, you were more sales orientated.
I want to be on the more the sales side, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Just remember, obviously, I'm quite new in the game.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm still crawling.
But you're growing fast, from what I've heard. You're not just crawling, but you are standing and getting ready to run.
Absolutely. I'm ready to fall down a few times before I can start running, but we get in there. Absolutely. Yeah. But letting this what I'm currently focused on, but there's a couple of sales properties to be sold as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because right now, what we've seen in the market, and recently, some of the reports that have been coming out in terms of the sales market, is that it's picked right back up again. The letting side has also been moving gradually, because people can move out, as well as move back in, and more importantly, landlords are getting back into the actual, how can I say this, the rigmarole of finding properties again. So they're going out there looking at agents to source properties, get proper management agents in to ensure that the tenants are fully vetted and the rent's being collected. So doing a lot of reviews at this moment in time. The coronavirus has given them that chance to sit back and check a lot of their contracts. Have you found generally an increase in landlords coming out from the woodworks?
Personally, obviously, I've been here for a very short period. Okay, but in my opinion, I think there's still a lot of properties to be sold. I think there's still a lot of people looking to buy. Because the way I look at things, yes, coronavirus has impacted the economy and basically anyone and everyone massively. However, you need to remember at the same time, there's still people who might have lost a lot of money in this pandemic, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who've gained a lot of money because of the pandemic.
I hear that.
Probably, you know what I mean? So there's still money in rotation. There's not, as compared to before, which will bounce back. I think there's still a lot of money, especially with the announcement today. About the stamp duty cuts. I think it puts buyers in a very good position right now.
You know what? I think that is absolutely right. And those people that were originally selling at 555,000, they may very well look at 500,000 now, just to make sure that the sale can actually take place. And I think this is a good thing. You know.
There you go.
You know. So if you are looking,
I have a question. I have a question for you actually, because obviously you're an expert mortgage advisor, right?
Pretend to be, yeah.
Yeah. You've been in the industry for quite a long time. Yeah. So my question is, obviously, there's a lot of speculation because obviously I'm meeting different people, getting different opinions. I've got my own, but I wanted somebody who's in that game right now, hands on. So people right now think that it's very hard to get for the banks to give money to them. There's a lot of speculation that banks would not loan them the money because of the pandemic and la di da. However, in my opinion, I think the situation that we are in, the government is encouraging banks to loan the money to get the economy moving, so that the property market, steps up again. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, so let's break it down into many different factors. The first factor we've got to look at is commercial. Yeah, because that is going to be driving the economy a lot more than anything else. And the government has given a lot of loans, and even today with the reduction in VAT from 20% down to 5% to get the restaurant, hospitality industry moving again, for people to eat out. That's going to put a lot of people into business, as well as help keep the profit sheet balanced out. So if you, as an example, have got a landlord that is looking to refinance their property, which is actually a restaurant, so they can get additional funding, there is CBILS, Coronavirus Business Interruption Loans, which is designed specifically for those kinds of properties. And originally, they are just in one particular place that you could go to, which was your own main bank. But now, with over the last 2 months, it's opened up to more people, including the brokers. So the brokers can now offer this service. So getting cash flow is most important to anyone. It's not about profit in that sense. It's about having a positive cash flow, so that you can keep business flow and, more importantly, pay your staff. Now we're going to look at the next market, which is the residential market. Yeah, so people looking to move home and buy. Yes, you're right. With lockdown ending as gradually as it has, people have been able to complete on their exchanges and sales and get their valuations take place. The problem isn't the stamp duty. The problem's not anything more than the mortgage market. You're right in terms of finances, but what we've seen today is Halifax has reduced and so has Virgin Money. They've taken things like overtime, commission, and they've reduced how much you can actually use, so that they can keep a tighter look, a tighter control on who they're lending money to and not have the overexposure. With Virgin, they have actually tightened up on their criteria of people who've got CCJs and defaults. Hell, even the people that were traditionally looking to lend to people who had bad credit have stepped back from the market or put in lower loan to values, 50%, 75%. So you need to have more deposit before you can actually go ahead and do things. It is all right now, slowly but surely we're catching up with everyone, and what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks is really going to define everything, because the pubs have opened back up again. We've seen Leicester go into lockdown. How many more little lockdowns are we going to see? The reality behind all of what I'm saying at the moment in time is going to affect lending decisions. It's going to affect valuations taking place as well, because we've had a trainee surveyor on this show, and they said that the average age of a surveyor is 57. They're not young. So what's happening at this moment in time is that you've got people who are older, they're more at risk. So the industry has to do its own recruitment, and it's trying to speed itself up. We're seeing that in the mortgage market, we're seeing that in the estate agency, we're seeing that in surveying, we're seeing that in the valuation side of things as well. Proper on the back end of the valuation side, because people, valuations can take place, but people still have to process it to get the underwriter to issue the mortgage offers. So as people are coming out of their sort of lockdown-ish mindset, things are starting to move again. But it is with bated breath, because we've just seen it. Leicester is down. We've seen 3 pubs go into lockdown because they said that some of their partners had coronavirus. So it's a lot of testing and refining at the moment. And that's why, at this moment in time, what you're seeing as the market is evolving is the investors are coming back in, because they can refinance much of their existing property portfolio. And if they can refinance that with higher rates of interest, doesn't matter, because as long as they can get that capital out, cash is king. They can then buy very quickly, because the mainstream banks are still giving the same loan to values on buy to lets. The specialist banks are still giving the same loan to values on the buy to let, which is 25% deposit, or in some cases 20% deposit. So that market is always going to be there. Hence why I don't have any real fear that market's going to go down. The other market, which is we're looking at, is the first-time buyer market, but on the new build section, because of the help to buy, shared ownership, and shared equity side. These markets are not slowing down because people still need a place to live. The right to buy market has also come back as well. Lenders, councils have gone out there and got their valuers out there to try and get these properties sold as quickly as possible. So we're getting that now. So all of this is starting to take place. Hence why at this moment in time, let's although it's a bit cautious, it's a bit more positive. But we have to take it one step at a time. We can't, Rishi Sunak coming out and helping the stamp duty is going to help the change to complete. That's for sure. And within that change getting completed, it's all going to be the add-on products, the life insurance, the wills, legislation, conveyancing. All those things are going to go through. That's been jammed up for such a long period of time. So that's my personal opinion. Again, but this is not about me. This is about you, because you're actually on the ground. You're seeing what are you seeing more first-time buyers in terms of activity? Are you seeing more tenants in terms of activity? What is your sort of perspective? What are you feeling?
My take on it, I think there's loads of first-time buyers, because I think there is obviously like a lot of speculation, but at the same time, people, because I can relate to it, because I only bought my first home last year.
Yeah.
I don't think people see when they're buying their first home. But obviously, most of them are either living in their family house or they're living in renting, and anybody who's in a position to buy does not want to be in renting. Okay, most of the time, majority of the time. So, and the other thing is, property is one of those things. It's always an asset.
Yeah.
It will grow eventually, especially if you're in London, Croydon sort of area. So 10 years, even if you have lost a bit of money given there, let's say next year on the property which you bought, but in the long run, if you bought it as a home, in 10 years' time, you can't lose on it.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a lack of first-time buyers. There has been a lot of buy-to-let, like a lot of investors coming through. A lot of investors coming to view property, randomly.
It's not random.
I've only got 2 properties on the market.
Yeah.
Okay, real. But there's been so many investors inquiring about it, coming to viewings, putting offers out there. So obviously, like you mentioned, obviously the position they are.
Colin, by the way, Colin, thanks for joining in. Guys, if you've got any questions, throw them in. This is what this is all about, so we can get you some more expertise. But from my point of view, it's not random at all. This is a normal trend.
Tell me, please.
Because cash, they've held on to their cash. That's why. They've got cash, they've got enough for a deposit. They now know that some of the property prices are down compared to what they were this time last year due to a fear factor in the market. Last year, it was Brexit and the uncertainty in the market. But what happened in the first 3 months before coronavirus hit was that the normal stability had come back into the market again. The market had recorrected itself to, the normal timelines that a market goes in. January's quiet, but February starts picking up. March starts, it's got to its peak. And there's that nice stability. The second week of February, second week of January, people are coming back into holidays and starting to view and that kind of thing. And you see a lot more completions taking place. That was the cycle, and that happened. So with what you have said, that makes perfect sense. The investors always had that cash, but what they were waiting for was the properties to come into the market, and because of the lack of properties coming onto the market and the desperation of the vendor, they felt that, we can drive prices down. Rather than what would normally happen in this market, prices are driven up because of the rarity, of properties in the market. Supply versus demand. in this instance, if I'm a surveyor, if I'm an investor and I've got the cash in my hand and I see a motivated, desperate seller, a vendor, I'm going to do everything I can to win, to push them down, so I can, I win on the buying part.
Absolutely, yeah, it's an opportunity. It is one of the best opportunities for investors, yeah.
Yeah, and like what we've seen with the, some investors, some of them, the people that you will see, are just a face. There may be a team behind them that is doing the finance. They have a limited company buy-to-let as an example, because that's coming into the market in a massive way, because it legitimizes the buy-to-let as a business. But I've also talked about the company buy-to-lets in the past as well. Again, that video is on the on the page if you ever want to see it, by all means. And that's a plug to everyone else out there. So feel free to go back and see my viewpoints on buy-to-lets. But from what you've said, makes perfect sense. It's now.
And yeah.
I was going to say it's now with the chains. How are you finding it with chains at the moment?
That is a bit of a struggle, because I feel like everything is a bit slowed down.
Yeah.
Than it should be. I think obviously it's basically the fear element, which is obviously at the back of everybody's mind. So everybody's self-doubting their decisions a little bit. But I'm sure it will move. It will move. People who are ready to sell, they will sell. If, to be honest, you're in the field. Like what I've noticed, if the property is priced correctly, you've got estate agents who their communication is on point, and if the property is not completely in shambles, it will sell.
That's the best point you made there. That is exactly what homeowners need to hear. The key thing, it can't be in the shambles. So, what would you say to a prospective homeowner that thinks that their home is okay? What sort of tips would you say to help them, just take an objective point of view and say, all right, no, I've got to do this, I've got to do that.
Any home you go to, yeah, I'm sure it's in your home or it's in my home as well, yeah. There's always something in your house which you will see and you go like, I need to fix that. I need to fix that. But we normally just leave it. And we all are aware of these sort of things. Anything you see like that, fix it. Because when I was in the market to buy my home, I wasn't looking at positives. I was looking at what is wrong with the property first. So anything you think needs to be fixed, it needs to be fixed. Secondly, try to make it as nice cosmetically as you can.
Okay.
Especially for first-time buyers, because first-time buyers buy it thinking it's not an investment. They buy it as a home. Does that make sense?
It does, because basically, if you're a first-time buyer, you're actually looking to set up your family, you're looking to lay down roots on.
There you go.
In some places, what you have is generational homes. The first-time buyer will buy that house, and that's it. They won't move. The historic way of moving homes would be every 7 years, but that changed. Now more people are buying and staying where they are, and they're looking to raise their families until they get old enough for the family, so they have the empty nest syndrome, which is the what I said by the generational home. It's more longer than 7 years, because typically what will happen in the house buying process is someone will get onto the property ladder buying a flat. Then what they want to do, have their family. The family then outgrows the flat. They want to now buy a house. They found a house and they want to raise their family. Then what happens? Their kids fly the nest. Then they have to downsize from the house to the flat again. That has changed in many areas. It is now the first-time buyers looking to buy the house, stay where they are, and raise their family until empty nest syndrome. And even then, they may not want to move away from the property. They'll turn it into their Airbnb.
True. True. Yes.
There's plenty of things there, in that sense, because the industry has changed, the environment has changed, and so has buying, and that's because, again, now this is me getting political, wages have not kept up with many,
have not kept up now.
many factors. It hasn't kept up, you know, and that's the biggest problem. So if we look at, for example, the tube and the train drivers, their wages have actually kept up with what should be paid right now as a
But
salary.
not retail though. Not
Retail
retail.
hasn't.
Retail is
No
still
one else
quite
has.
less.
No one else has. Even estate agents or mortgage advisors who are in an employed role, they haven't kept up. You know, none of them on a national average wage. You know, especially if they're coming into this industry. You know, so there's a big problem here, and that's what's caused much of the you know, people buying their properties and holding on to it. You know, hence why what you've seen with investors, if a property comes into the market, they're going for it. They know they can get it.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
but you know, like what you said, you know, in terms of you've got, again, I keep making this about myself. It's not about me. It's about you.
It's about us. It's about everyone. It's about everyone. Yeah.
Of course, of course. But you know, like you know, in terms of going out there, like what you said, making the property look presentable. Any other tips that you gave? Two other tips, which was make the property look presentable, fix everything.
Yeah. Make sure your price is right. So a lot of times, like in a couple of valuations that I've been to, like all of us, we are very house proud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you need to remember what is the property worth. Like look at the numbers, look at the figures. Like just for example, if you bought your house for £200,000, yeah, just for example, £200,000, you spend, you know, let's say 15-20 grand on it a couple of years ago, and the market right now says your property a couple of years later is worth 230, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are so house proud, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, like myself, they would think the money that you've spent in the property, they add it to the valuation.
Yeah.
A lot of times, which is not the truth, because you have to look at, you know, what area you're in, what market you're in, and listen to the experts, listen to the estate agents, look at the figures.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, like if I sat with 10 of my friends, they would all value my property differently. But the reality is they're not estate agents, are they? Or they're not. They might be in a different industry. They could be in hospitality, doctors, whatever. Just piece of advice for, you know, all landlords, everyone out there.
Yeah.
Look at the figures. Look at what it's actually worth. Don't be so house proud.
And that's the thing, because again, like what you said, many people will go into something like Rightmove or Zoopla and base it upon something which may have been on the market for 6-7 months and didn't ship. Well, because it's so highly priced, it's just there. So that's what they based it on. Have you got any kind of advice to keep people feeling, okay, right, this is what it's likely to sell for?
Yes. So basically, there's loads of places out there like Home Search and stuff like that, which do proper checks, give you all the comparables, real facts. Because obviously, Zoopla is brilliant. You know, I found my house on Zoopla, but like most of us. But the estimated price when you go into house prices and you put your postcode and your address in, it can be quite off sometimes. So please, like, don't go according to that figure. Do a proper report and listen to the estate agents. Obviously, they're aware of the area, and if they're telling you something, there's a reason for it. They're not just making up numbers and facts. Because obviously, people need to remember. Because obviously, estate agents don't have the best reputation in the world. Yeah. Let's be honest. However, people need to remember we are always on the vendor's side. Because at the end of the day, we work on commission. We want to get them the best price at the best time. And a lot of time what also happens is, you might get an offer 20-30 grand more than it's worth because somebody is excited or somebody is a first time buyer. But when reality kicks in, when the mortgage needs to be approved, when the survey happens, when the valuation happens, and then the actual figure, sometimes you lose the whole deal.
Yeah, and that's also the problem there, like you pointed very accurately, which is so much information and so much different information. Even when people put their houses on the market, they may get 3 estate agents in just to get an average idea. And what they will find is one estate agent will overinflate the price. Another agent will say that I price it absolutely bang on, that it will sell. And someone said that I'll come in a little bit lower to try to attract more people, and then we'll push them up. How would from your sort of perspective? Again, I know that you would like to take on every property which is out there, but let's face it, you're not going to go up to I don't know, let's say Wolverhampton to do evaluation.
Yeah,
So
correct. Obviously,
so for those kinds of people who because this group thankfully got a bit of an international flavor to it as well now. But what would you recommend to anyone who's potentially thinking about putting their property in the market? Would you say go through a estate agent? Would you say check the internet? How?
Both. Absolutely both. Because at the end of the day, it's your house that you worked for, that you're selling. You want to be aware of everything.
Yeah.
And in the estate agency game, what I'm finding at the moment, like I like to say that I'm still new. However, what I'm seeing is, I think there's a little gap in the market with the estate agents. It's the communication. Every person I've spoken to has decided to go with me, either them being a landlord who wants to rent out their property or they're selling it. The only reason they are willing to go with me is because of communication.
Very true.
Makes sense.
Of course, it makes perfect sense.
It's something that lacks sometimes. Because obviously, like yourself, myself, we're all very busy people, and sometimes you forget things. But I think what the landlords want, from my point of view, in my experience, they want communication. They already know what is the rough figure they're going to get for it. But they want updated everything that happens, whatever you're doing, whatever happens regarding their property, they want to know. And I think if they can get that right, if they see that quality in a certain estate agency, go for that. Obviously, at the end, they make sure you do your own research as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you have no clue what your property is worth and there's 3 estate agents standing in the room throwing figures at you, nothing's going to make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, is a knowledge factor. And again, having you on here to help people with that kind of advice is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely.
So I do thank you for taking that time out to do this. Do we have, I'm going to check to see what other questions there are. But if you guys are enjoying this, we've had a couple of likes already, a couple of loves. If you guys have got any questions out there, feel free to throw them in at any point. We will answer them today. There was a bit of buzz about you, actually, for coming on. Saw a couple of people coming in LinkedIn. So it was actually quite interesting to see that. So, yeah. So I'm feel free to share this video out as well, with all your fans.
110%. 110%. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we ain't done yet. So, there were a couple of questions that came up. I mean, we did talk about this, and we talked about the communication side of things. So, with the communication side, we've seen a huge explosion in the internet market. So, Purple Bricks, as an example, Yopa, someone.
I think it's something like that. I think people know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So we've seen a lot of the internet-based estate agents out there. How are you finding, in terms of them as being competition or them as being a provider? Because some of them network with local estate agents to, just take on the property and then farm them out. How are you, feel about that?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about it the other day. I personally, I hated social media before. I put my hand up. I didn't use it. I lived a very private life. Yeah. However, once obviously the pandemic happened, social media became my life, and it's the only way forward now for any business, not just agent, not just for mortgage brokers. Any business out there, you need to be online. You need to be creating content. You need to be putting yourself out there to be noticed. Because keeping the millennials aside, because obviously their first intuition is to, if they think about something or buying out, is to go online. But what I'm seeing recently, even people in their 40s, 50s, now the intuition, instead of walking into a branch and talking to somebody about the property, they'll go online as well.
Yeah.
So I think every business needs to be online. Every business needs to be creating content out there, because that's the only way. That's the only way you can grow. Most of my business, by the way, now comes from online, from Facebook, from LinkedIn, all of that. That's what it is. Yeah. It's just talking to people like yourself and having conversations, and that's where it happens.
Yeah, again, the line of communication, like you said, is just immense. So I can see why you're staying awake 24 hours a day.
Well, I try to get 8 hours sleep, but yeah.
Yeah, there has to be a switch off point somewhere. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, some of my other estate agency friends, you're right. Some of them will have a website. Some of them will just operate on Facebook or LinkedIn only. Some of them will work from Instagram because of the photograph capabilities and maximizing the full aspect of Instagram to present a property in a different light. TikTok seems to be a growing app at the moment, which is interesting. It may be about dancing, but what I've seen is a lot more people utilizing the 1 minute factor of doing the video and getting it out there very quickly. So I've seen quite a few things out there. It's interesting, challenging times. I will admit that. And like what you said, you don't need just one avenue. You can have multiple, but just focus on one.
Absolutely. But obviously, we still do the door knocking. We still do leafleting and all of that. I think it's not the case of just it being social media. Social media has become a very big part of it. And I think people, instead of seeing a banner with your company's name on it, I think people buy from people. People buy trust. And putting a face to it, seeing somebody on video or talking about it has a lot more impact than seeing a banner while you're driving, for example.
And that's fascinating, because it used to be board power when I got into the stage. The more boards that you had, the more that you owned the area, in a sense, or particular location. But that's completely changed. A board is fine, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you run the area. It's how many properties you got online. That seems to be the biggest. Have you frozen there? Just in case, guys. Yeah, he has frozen. He's not staring at me blankly like that. So when it takes some time for the internet to reload up, in the meantime, damn it, guys, his internet connection disconnected. But don't worry, it happens. If you guys were enjoying this so far, we discussed about the stamp duty. We discussed about making your property look really good, not having to worry too much in terms of the cosmetics. Try and just keep it nice and clean, so that way when people do come in, they feel a bit more happy to view your home and more likely to give an offer on the property. We've talked about commercial in the sense of help with things like the VAT and stuff like that, which has been announced today. So we covered quite a few bits, quite a few areas. And if Hussnam is able to come back again, or if his internet has completely died out, doesn't matter. I'll be dropping a link to his business. He is in this group. He does cover the areas that most of you will live in. So have no fear. Feel free, have a chat with him. If you're an investor, if you're looking to put your property on the market, even if you're just looking for a basic valuation on the home, this is absolutely fine. You've got these resources and these tools here. Tomorrow, what am I going to talk about? Now, it's interesting because I was going to talk about something completely different, but now with the whole stamp duty thing coming out there, I might twist it up. Again, as we've seen a massive change in government policy, we need to adapt and see how we can help. Right now, I think one of the biggest things to talk about is mortgage lenders, just in general. and they're absolute complete changes of policies when it comes to lending. You know, some are changing it on a day-by-day basis, some are tightening their criteria, some are being very loose, and some are being very cautious. You know, so I think we'll touch on that tomorrow more than everything else. Thanks, Hussnam, put it on there. Thank you, Hussnam. If you can, please drop a link or a your information in the comments so that people can come out and say, see what it is that you do. Everyone, I think it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that I've given you guys some benefit, and Hussnam as well has been really good. He done it in his car. So that's dedication for you. Don't forget, not every estate agent is the same. Have their reviews, check them out. The independent ones will go the extra mile. They always have gone the extra mile. That's why they're independent. So it'll be great to see what others will say. We do have other estate agents in the group as well. We've got so many different people, and the group is growing. We are less than 20 people away from hitting 300. So if you guys can help me out, I'll be putting in a little links for reviews. If you can do that for me, greatly appreciate it. Also, if you can share out the group as well to any of your friends, family members that may be thinking about mortgages, maybe thinking about wills, maybe thinking about pensions. There is something here for everyone. One of our fitness guys got business. So feel free to share out the group, because there's more than just mortgages here. Just put it in and feel happy. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Hussnam, thank you again for being part of this, and thank you again. Catch you guys up tomorrow, and have a great evening. Take care of yourself.